fair to assume that with all of my many vast years of reading experience, I would be quite good at picking books that I am likely to enjoy. Books which work for my particular reading tastes. Turns out, not so much. I am in fact variable at best at this activity. And so here we are, once again, ever hopeful that I will have got better at it. Let's not get our hopes up. Yes? Yeah. Hi guys, it's Leanne and welcome back to another 5-star prediction video wherein I pick books off of my shelves that I have purchased for myself or have been gifted from my wish list, which I curated for myself, and try to guess which of them will in fact be 5-star reads for me. The last time I did this video, I did it only with thrillers, and in fairness, out of the thrillers that I picked, one of them is now one of my all-time favourite thrillers ever. But unfortunately, the rest of them were either miserable DNFs, I want to physically light this on fire, or I unhauled these because I lost interest in them. In fact, if you look at my track record of choosing books, I would say that maybe 1 in every 10 books that I read is a new absolute amazing favourite. 5 to 6 of them are like really good, and then 4 of them are just like, why does this exist? 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1. Yes, that adds up to 10. Okay, I did good maths. Look, it very rarely happens. Let me congratulate myself when it does, okay? In short, just because you are a voracious reader and you know that you like what you like doesn't always mean that it's easy to find what you like. And blurbs can sometimes be really misleading. Why you lie to me, publishers? I will buy books anyway, you don't have to lie. Anyway, so here we are. We're going to do it again, but this time around we are not going to just go down the thriller route because I think I will drive myself a little bit insane. Instead, we are going to choose 5 books from 5 different genres. We're going to go with fantasy, thriller, urban fantasy, dark academia / horror, and non-fiction just to spice it up. I'm excited, aren't you? And just like in my last video, all of the books that I have picked are fairly new to me books. None of them have been on my shelves for longer than maybe 6 months, and in fact 2 of them were plucked directly from the massive haul pile behind me on the floor. More on that later. Maybe in round 3 I will go with books that have been on my TBR for longer than, I don't know, maybe 2 years. I'm sure there are a few of those blighters kicking about here and there. I'm looking at you, non-fiction shelf. Actually, I should probably be looking at the fantasy shelf because it's definitely bigger and it's staring back at me. Yes, good, right, so let's get on with it. Here are 5 books that I think I am going to particularly enjoy in some way or other. I must wring 5 stars worth of enjoyment out of all of you because otherwise I'm going to be real sad. First up, we're going to go with the fantasy contribution to this list. This is one of those series that has somehow foot over tiny little foot snuck over the threshold of my house until I kind of have all 3 of them on my shelves and I haven't read any of them. That is really not a thing that I tend to do very often anymore. Like many other fantasy readers out there, I have been burned by buying more and more books in a series and then getting halfway through and hating them all. So it's generally a rule in my house that I have 1 book / 2 at the very most in a series, but this one is a trilogy, so it's okay. It's not okay. It's not okay. It's not okay, but here we are. We have found ourselves at this place. So forward we shall go. Why am I like this? The book that I have picked for fantasy is The City of Brass by S.A. Chakraborty. When I pick up books, they come in one of 3 categories. Category 1 is like, I have randomly discovered this and now I have it. Category 2 is BookTube told me that I would like this book and so I have picked it up. And category 3 is close friends of mine have told me that I need this book in my life because it is very me and also they love it and I need to read it right now. Weirdly, this one went through a progression of all 3. I found this first one, so I bought it. Then I discovered that all of BookTube loves it And then I discovered that some very good friends of mine are very, very in love with this series and were horrified to discover that I had not read it because apparently they just assumed that I had. I'm assuming that it's either because it's such a me book that they assumed that I had already consumed it, or because I don't keep my TBR books separate from my read books. I like to look at my library as a browsing opportunity. We may have a reread, or we may have a new book. Either way, I now have it in my hands and I am going to right all of the wrongs, okay? So you can all stop yelling at me. I'm gonna read it and put it in video notice. I'm gonna read it really soon, okay? Okay. The only thing that I know about City of Brass is that it is a historical fantasy, so it takes place in our world but with magical elements, and it is about thieves and ruffians. I saw on the back the word tricksters, so I am assuming ye olde versions of con artists. But let's find out together, shall we? I do so love it when we do that. In the markets of 18th century Cairo, thieves, tricksters, con artists and outcasts eke out a living swindling rich nobles and foreign invaders alike. But alongside the new world, the old stories linger. Tales of genii and spirits, of cities hidden amongst the swirling sands of the desert, full of enchantment, desire and riches, where magic pours down every street, hanging in the air like dust. Many wish their lives could be filled with wonder, but not Nahri. She knows the trades she uses to get by are just tricks and sleights of hand. There's nothing magical about her. She only wishes to one day leave Cairo, but as the saying goes, be careful what you wish for. See, the problem with these videos is that I just want to go and sit down and read this right now. Like, I don't want to tell you about any of these, I just want to go read this. Let's see what the first sentence is together. He was an easy mark. Okay, let's do one more, what the hell. Nahri smiled behind her veil, watching the two men bicker as they approached her stall. Wanna read it now? I will say, however, that it is incredibly small writing and it is not a small book. 532 pages of not a small book. Maybe more like 600 if the text was a reasonable human size. You are exciting and intimidating, as all good books should be. Yes. Next up, I have gone with a thriller because I have a lot of thrillers on my shelves that are unread at the moment, and it's really difficult to know whether a thriller is really going to be a 5-star or not. It's one of those genres that has really big recurring trends in a lot of different areas, and so sometimes even though the story is different, the actual mechanics of the story is exactly the same as the last one you read, and while that can be like great, it can totally have that like box of chocolates thing where once you open it you just want to consume them all. Or you could accidentally get that one Turkish Delight chocolate in the box and never want to touch them again. Turkish Delight is the devil. So I find that I can no longer predict with any kind of actual accuracy whether I am going to love a thriller or whether I have just really loved the setup for it. So much in a thriller lies in the execution that you just don't know until you're in the door. The thriller that I've picked is one that I found randomly in Blackwell's when I was book shopping with Jean and Ashley. I saw the cover, I plucked it up, and I thought it was meant to be. This is A Crooked Tree by Mannion. It was sitting across from me as I took a 10-second break from all of the walking my poor chronically ill body was doing. I will do anything for books. And the thing that made me pick up this book was the tiny, tiny blurb on the back. I think thrillers hook you in with question marks generally, like who did it? Do they know? Will they ever find out? But there are no question marks on the back of this one, just a tiny, tiny angry synopsis. So it says, rage. That's the feeling engulfing the car as Ellen's mother swerves over to the hard shoulder and orders her daughter out onto the roadside. Ignoring the protests of her other children, she accelerates away, leaving Ellen standing on the gravel verge in her school pinafore and knee socks as the light fades. This moment is the beginning of a summer that will change everything. Oh, I was so enthusiastic I knocked the camera, I do apologise. I have never heard of Mannion before. I don't even know if they have any other books. It looks like, to me, this might be their first novel. Oh. It literally says on the front, a moody meticulously plotted debut. Let's have a look at the first sentence, shall we? Let's just get on with it. The night we left Ellen on the road, we were driving north up 252 near where it meets 202, then crosses the Pennsylvania Turnpike. Ooh, I didn't know whose point of view it was going to be from, so I'm guessing that's from one of the other kids in the car. Let's do another sentence. To the west were open fields, stretches of golden prairie grass and butterfly weed. The final line of sun splintering light through them. I don't want to read anything on my TBR, I just want to read these books. This is why I continually put off doing 5-star prediction videos, because I'm literally gathering together the books that I'm the most excited about and then telling myself I can't read them yet because I have a whole other stack of stuff to read. Look, it's right here, a whole other stack. Okay, on to the next book before I destroy anything else, including my sanity. The next one up is an urban fantasy, and it is one that has several pretty amazing things going for it. First of all, it was sent to me by the lovely people at Book Break, who generally choose very, very good books for me. Secondly, it has been blurbed on the front by Ben Aaronovitch, the author of Rivers of London. This is an urban fantasy series that I absolutely adore. So there's a good chance that if he has blurbed it positively, I will like it. What has he said? Fast moving and entertaining. Okay, there's maybe only a half chance that you've read. I'm going to assume that you have, and that you actually think these things. In which case, very exciting. And finally, when I went out that very same book shopping trip with Jean and Ashley, I got talking to a bookseller in Waterstones who recommended this book to me in a conversation based on Lockwood & Co. So we all know how I feel about Lockwood & Co. And if I had put that series in a 5-star prediction video, I would have been very pleased about the results. I can only then assume that we are going to get along famously. This is The Library of the Dead by T.L. Huchu. I knew I was not going to remember those initials. When Book Break sent me this and I looked it up, I discovered that it actually does get compared to Rivers of London, but a Rivers of London set in Edinburgh. So Rivers of London is very based in the history of London and the way that the city was founded and the rivers that run through it and the old gods that may or may not still exist there. And apparently this is quite similar. On the back it says Edinburgh hides dark magic and secrets and Ropa's gonna hunt them all down. The adventure starts here. When ghosts talk, she will listen. Well, that is already a very promising start. We know how Leanne feels about clairvoyance in books. Ropa dropped out of school to become a ghost talker, and they sure do love to talk. Now she speaks to Edinburgh's dead, carrying messages to those they left behind. A girl's got to earn a living and it seems harmless enough. No, not to me. No. Until that is, the dead whisper that someone's bewitching children, leaving them husks, empty of joy and strength. It's on Ropa's patch, so she feels honour bound to investigate, but what she learns will rock her world. Ropa will dice with death, not part of her plan, as she calls on Zimbabwean magic and Scottish pragmatism to hunt down clues. And although underground Edinburgh hides a wealth of dark secrets, she also discovers an occult library, a magical mentor, and some unexpected allies. Yet as shadows lengthen, will the hunter become the hunted? I think it's safe to say that all of this is somewhere in the middle of Leanne's wheelhouse. What is the first sentence? I'm really not supposed to be doing this, but a girl's got to get paid, so here we go. Okay, we'll do another one. It's been a long day, super long. Hiked up the B702 all the way up to Liberton doing my deliveries and swung back round the bypass, last stop Lanark Road in Juniper Green. I make that a 15-mile trip round Edinburgh, give or take a few. My quads ache and I've got chunks of hot lead for feet. Feels good to sit on my butt on this sofa and veg for a mo. Okay, I think Ropa and I are probably going to get on. Next up is the one that has been sitting on my shelf for the longest out of all of them, and that is the dark academia / horror. That kind of subset of horror is taking up more and more of my reading as time goes on, and so I think I would maybe have gotten to this one a little bit sooner, but I've set it aside for a buddy read with Ashley when the two of us actually have time to read. But by putting it in this video, I am bumping it up our TBRs. This is Catherine House by Elizabeth Thomas, and wow, did I nearly hit myself in the face with it? Yes, I did. It's been blurbed by Louise O'Neill, which is an interesting one for me because when I think about Louise O'Neill, I do not think dark academia. I don't think horror either. I think more thriller with several feet in contemporary. Well, how many feet does she have? Okay, several limbs in contemporary. A big chunk of contemporary. She says it is deliciously sinister. It's almost impossible not to be seduced. Okay, so maybe Louise O'Neill got it because it's got like a dark relationship in it, which is something that Louise O'Neill has written about before. Who knows? But the cover says, "What would you sacrifice to be inside?" And the back cover says, "You are in the house and the house is in the woods. You are in the house and the house is in you." Hello, lover. Shall we read the blurb? Yeah. During your 3 years at Catherine House, you will have no contact with those in the outside world. You will not leave the grounds during your time at the college. No outside music or books permitted. If we believe you have wandered from the path of learning, you may be sent to the tower. Each of our students has been selected as someone who belongs here at Catherine. You will give to Catherine and Catherine will give to you. We will not let each other down. Catherine House is a university like no other. Into its celebrated world steps Inez, a young woman who welcomes the school's isolation rather than its illustrious past. But as the gates close and Inez finds herself start to be inevitably seduced by its magnetic power, she begins to realise the question isn't why she chose to come to Catherine House, but why Catherine House chose her. Eee, so creepy. Okay, that definitely sounds like it's got more of it in horror than dark academia than previously assumed. But in saying that, if we think about dark academia as something like The Secret History, there's definitely some new. Okay, so it starts with year 1 as the first section, and then the first title is chapter Billie Jean. I wonder, is there why? What are the other chapters titled? Oh, okay, random things like coming in. Okay, I ran a hand over my stomach. Well, that's not giving me much. Let's carry on. I was going to be sick. The backs of my throat tasted like sour wine and my ears rang with the echoes of a party. A smutty, fucked up bass line reverberating through the floor, girls, a lot of them, slurring and yelping, a boy smashing a bottle and screaming to the crowd, "We're here! We are the kings of the castle." The castle. Catherine. Okay! I don't really know what to think about that. That's the first one that I've read and I haven't had like a straight up opinion immediately. Like, it doesn't make me want to rush to pick it up more, but it does sound interesting, does it not? Okay, we shall see. I predict 5 stars, but we shall see. And finally, we have the non-fiction offering for this video. This is the newest book that's in my house. It's literally only been here for a couple of days, and I am so very excited about it. One of my lovely friends, Sarah, she has a bookstagram. I will link it down below. You should go check her out. She's fabulous. If you like any kind of historical things connected with bodies, Sarah is the person to get your non-fiction recommendations from. That might give you a hint as to what's coming up, but this book was one of Sarah's favourite books of the year when she read it. I think it only came out at the tail end of 2020 and it's only just new in paperback this year. So that book is The Curious History of Sex by Kate Lister. Kate Lister you might have heard of before because she runs the online historical project Whores of Yore, which again I am very addicted to. Ain't gonna lie, when I spotted this one I was planning on getting it for myself anyway, so it was a lovely gift to get from Sarah. I love historical non-fiction that talks about very specific things in history with a slightly comedic lens. And I think it's safe to say that that is what Kate brings to the party, especially considering that the dedication at the start says, "For my family, sorry." So the back of the book says, A Curious History of Sex draws upon Dr. Kate Lister's extensive knowledge of sex history, from medieval impotence tests to 20th century testicle thefts, from the erotic frescoes of Pompeii to modern day sex doll brothels. Kate unabashedly roots around in the pants of history, debunking myths, challenging stereotypes, and generally getting her hands dirty. This fascinating book is peppered with surprising and informative historical slang and illustrated with eye-opening, toe-curling, meticulously sourced images from the past. You will laugh, you will wince, and you will wonder just how much has actually changed. That's slightly terrifying, because I guess the answer is not much. Shall we do a first sentence? Let's do a first sentence. Sex is one of the great universal levelers. To paraphrase Geoffrey Rush's Marquis de Sade, we eat, we sleep, we shit, we fuck, and we die. Desire cuts across boundaries of gender, culture, and class. It cares little for our rules, and as anyone who has ever been caught with their pants down will tell you, it cares even less for common sense. Again, I want to just read it right now. I love Kate Lister. You know those like fantasy dinner parties that you want to put together with all of the famous people that you've ever wanted to talk to? I want Kate Lister at my dinner party. Also Agatha Christie, because I think that would be a conversation that we would all enjoy. So that's it, guys. Those are my 5-star predictions. There are a lot of pages in here, like quite a lot of them, but I am very excited to see which of them is correct, because it would make a nice change if like the ratio was mostly correct and only one dud. Do you hear me? I would like that. That would be great for me. Wish me luck, guys. As always, please let me know if you have read any of the books that are on my list, or if there are any other books that you think I would think were 5 stars. Predict some books at me down in the comments and they may appear on future lists. If you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a thumbs up so that other people can find it and wait on tenterhooks to see whether I love them or not. And if you are new here, then subscribe, because that's how you'll find out. I will speak to you all soon, guys. Bye! And now I have to return to decorating. More paint awaits me in my future. I just finished this room, but it turns out that houses have so many multiple rooms.